The young lady said she's afraid of violence. And isn't it sad that we who have been the victims of so much violence, now whites fear violence from us?
I promise you I'll be bringing you part 2 of one of Honorable Louis Farrakhan's video. I'm really learning a lot from this video. It is making me realize that the liberation of Africans and Africans in diaspora did not start today. I want us to watch this particular video. I will be back.
My work is directly to black people. I spend 99% of my time dealing with us to help us reform our minds and spirit that we may do for ourselves. However, when you live in a society like this, and we know that in order to effect a solution to a problem between black and white, then there's going to have to be some meaningful dialogue between black and white in order to effect a solution. The young lady said she's afraid of violence. And isn't it sad that we who have been the victims of so much violence, now whites fear violence from us?
Since I started sharing Honorable Louis Farrakhan's videos, I have read through some comments, and as I have fallen in love, because I think let me say, for decades he has been fighting for the liberation of the Africans in diaspora, let me say the African Americans, and he has also been fighting for the freedom, the overall freedom or overall independence of Africans. I've watched a couple of his videos where he was talking passionately about Nigeria, and he has also talked passionately about the late Libyan president Muammar Gaddafi. So I've realized he has not been only fighting for the African Americans, but he has also fought hard for Africans. But I've also read a whole lot of comments from other people who are accusing him of being part of the elimination of Malcolm X. I don't know about that story, so I want somebody to help me to understand how he is involved with the elimination of Malcolm X and how he participates in this whole brouhaha, because I've been reading through some comments and I'm trying to get information from all these accusations, but I'm not getting it. So if anyone has this information, you can send to me on my email on catafricalive@gmail.com. Let me not bore you with a whole lot of talking. Let's continue this video.
I'm with you in that you're talking about wanting to have meaningful dialogue, and that's a problem. You know, right away, I don't know what's going to make whites happy, for Pete's sake. You know, you're talking about trying to find a solution to your problem. You're trying hard to do that, and we're tuning you right out. We're arguing with you. We're not agreeing with anything. We're not trying to give you a chance. For Pete's sake, you know, what do we want?
Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Farrakhan, there's a situation now where 1 in 4 black males are in prison or in jail or in some type of probation situation, okay? When I look around, even myself being a black reporter, okay, and they talk about racism, if a black and white person go to the job, a black person is going to get the job. I never find that out. And we're in New York City with a black mayor, and I still haven't seen it. And when I see Minister Farrakhan, not only the brothers enlighten me, but he gives me hope to not give up, not go get a pistol and stick somebody up, okay? So when I see you, not only are you the light and the hope, but I think, white America, you need to listen. And please don't harm this brother, because we love him. Yeah.
Hang on a minute. Yeah.
Getting back to what she said, what exactly do we have a problem with? Before you made a statement, you said that I think that, well, not I, you said that white people think that you're inferior to us. I don't believe that. I'm part of the youth of America. I am not prejudiced. I feel more prejudiced right now than I've ever felt. What? Not against black, I am not prejudiced against black people. Some of my best friends are black people. I am, what's the problem with that?
Yeah.
You let him speak, let me speak.
Yeah. You wanted to speak to this young woman?
No, I don't want to speak to her.
Who wants to talk to her? Yes.
No, what do you mean you feel more prejudice right now?
Because the way he's saying...
Because what?
What he's saying right now, I mean, I feel that you are prejudiced towards white people.
Okay, but excuse me. I think it's like he said, it might be a fear or misunderstanding that you have, because what fear has he put, or what has he actually said here today that makes you feel prejudiced?
I think that he said that we think that they're inferior. I think it's partly part of your own complex that you have to get over, because I don't feel you're inferior. I have nothing against black people.
Yes.
Let me answer her. This is the, excuse me, this is the situation. Every young white adult says, I have not done this to black people. I have not done that to black people. But your forefathers are the ones who have set us in the situation we are in. Now, what I'm saying is this. When Nat Turner stood up, you all rejected him. You killed him. When Marcus Garvey stood up, you all rejected him, enslaved him. He died a broken heart. Now, what I'm saying is this. Your fathers have put us in the condition we are in, and today you are profiting from what your forefathers have done. Now, my grandchildren are going to be raised, and your children are going to say to them, they have not done to them, because you are the ones who are going to do to my grandchildren what they're going to experience if the situation continues. Now, what I'm saying is this. When we talk about America falling, what we are saying is this. If you all want to control America, then we must have a land base that we control. You all cannot continue printing the dollar bill and then expect us to abide by your rules when you do not want to give us jobs. Therefore, I'm saying that we have now got to come into negotiations, and Minister Farrakhan is the man to listen to.
It becomes apparent more and more as we listen to each other and try to talk to each other that we don't perceive reality the same. That's right. And as we're talking about either reconciling differences or separating, it becomes clear that if two people are looking at the same thing and perceiving it so differently, then the two people are operating under a different stimulus. And so...
Are you there?
Yeah.
Are you there, caller?
Yes.
Thank you for waiting. I'm sorry it took us a while to get you, but go ahead. I know you'll be brief.
I'm a white American born into poverty, and I overcame it. You know, the opportunities are here in America, and why can't we just start now? We hear all this violence. Why can't we just talk in a positive way and go forward instead of remembering all these things that are in the past that are negative? They were not good for blacks, not good for white.
Yes, Minister Farrakhan commenting.
According to the State of Black America by the Urban League, if we started right now, they said, we could never close the gap to black poverty and white poverty. She said, let us start right now. Let's forget the past. Notice this. When Jewish people remember the Holocaust and want the world to remember the Holocaust. Wait. Why do you want the world to remember? Because if the world does not remember, it is likely to repeat itself. And Jewish persons who suffered from the Holocaust want the world to remember this because the world turned its back while Jews were put in ovens. I, as a black person want my people to remember what we have suffered and what we continue to suffer, so that we will say like the Jews, never again. Never again.
Okay, I've been listening in this corner right here, and I've heard a whole lot of negative things from the white people here. When you are trying to explain yourself, the white people don't want to hear you explain yourself. They drown you out. They start already trying to drown you out and talk over you. There's a certain amount of white arrogance here, and they don't want to listen to what black people are saying. They don't understand because they don't want to understand. I've heard a woman here say, go back to Africa. Somebody said, we have a black holiday. What does that mean? So what does that mean? He did not say that. He said, if we have a choice, what some of us can go and some of us can stay. But there's no understanding in here. People are just trying to talk.
To those arrogant persons, you know, when you tell us go back, please remember where you came from. And when you want to relegate somebody to a specific place, just remember what your origin is in this world. Please, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I want you to understand that you, wherever you are on the earth, you're not a native anywhere. You came there and took it from the native people who are there. So please don't talk about going back, because if others talk to you about that, where would you go?
Yes. I agree with you. I agree with you. Someone said we don't agree with you. I agree with you that we live in a racist society. But just as I'm racist, some of you are being racist in the fact that you're calling me a white folk. I realize that things that I have, things that I have, I realize most of them I may have gotten because I'm white, and I am privileged because I'm white. But I do feel guilty. There are feelings of guilt from being white, and I realize that. But you're building walls. We build walls this high. We're separated right now. The white people are on this side, and the black people are on that side. All right. I'm not. My road's not separated.
Who's
I don't know what I want to say. I forget what I want to say.
Yes. Yeah. Let me get this young woman here.
She said we're separated by seating.
She says what?
We did not seat ourselves, okay? So don't get that impression we wanted a blacks here and you over there, whatever, okay? No, I just wanted to say that because she made the point.
Ourselves. You know, it happens. Right. It happens at high school cafeterias. It happens all over the place.
Phil told us to sit over here.
Yeah. Not the cheap seats. Sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I'd like to say that I've written a book about black soldiers in the Civil War. Many black people have come to me and said constantly that they had no idea that there were black soldiers in the Civil War. Obviously, there are white people who don't know this. Don't we need to begin with education, begin with rewriting the textbooks in America to tell the truth about blacks and whites in America in context?
Yes. Yes. Please. Yeah. Please, for 1 second. Yes.
That's what I wanted to, Minister Farrakhan, the education system. Our children right now are being miseducated. What can we do so that we can inform our children, educate our children? And it's sad because white folks don't know anything about black history. And they have done that purposely. And I am saying that in May, I go down to Beaufort. And when you're in South Carolina, the whole history of black Africans is there. And it's pathetic that white folks have to wait till February to find out that we were slaves. I would like us to speak to what are we going to do to improve the education of this whole society, which have cheated them from our true heritage.
May I respond? I said in the first segment it was a crime of omission as well as a crime of commission. And that crime has affected both white and black. White folk have been made to believe that the history of civilization begins in Egypt and that Egypt was a white civilization. And that many whites have been made to believe that black folk were just in the jungles of Africa running around with no clothes on and never contributed anything to the advancement of civilization, while at the same time there are masons and shriners Some of your parents are Shriners and Masons, and they put on the fez of the Muslim people. And what they're studying is the true history of the black people of this earth. I think if the proper education were given to black and white, we could come away with a healthy respect one for the other. I want to clear this, that I don't think black people disrespect the tremendous accomplishments that white folk have made. But if white folk do not know what black people have contributed to the advancement of civilization, it leads to a disrespect of a whole segment of the population. And this is why today I will say that black children, as much as we need education, we don't want to go to these schools because the food that we are being fed is not proper. But any one of us can go into the schools where there's no discipline, where there's madness in the corridors, and we can speak to our youth and get their attention in a matter of moments, because we are teaching them that which their souls yearn for, that is a proper knowledge of self. And if they won't give it to us, we have the responsibility to give it to ourselves.
Mr. Farrakhan, I have actually two questions. One, the direction that you're pursuing seems to be a complete reversal from the direction that Martin Luther King was going into, which is total integration. You seem to be wanting to pull your people apart into a more segregated but equal situation. Can you draw any parallels between yourself and he and the end result that you're looking for? Yes. And how would you address some of the educated, upper-class blacks who are sending their children off to college now and are distressed that they're coming back too black? Yes. And I had said, what do you mean? My question to them was, what do you mean by too black? How can your children be too black? And they say there's a militant air that's coming home, and an angriness and an aggressiveness that they've spent years trying to quell. These children are wealthy children going to excellent colleges. Their parents are upper class, and they're concerned and distressed.
Thank you. First, I appreciate the manner and the spirit of your question. Dr. Martin Luther King, of course, was a giant among us. Dr. Martin Luther King was a humanist as well as a deep religious thinker who hoped and believed and worked for the coming together of people. I don't think that Dr. King was in error to work what his heart commanded him to do. But while Dr. King was doing that, would you believe that the United States government, under the counterintelligence program of J. Edgar Hoover, was plotting all the while against Dr. King to discredit him, to keep him from getting the Nobel Peace Prize? When he went to meet with the Pope, the FBI tried to interfere with Dr. King's meeting with the Pope, thinking that if the Pope met with Dr. King, it would give him too much credibility. Dr. King, in 1968, lost his life because he felt that poverty in America was so pervasive, not only among blacks, but whites. And even though Lyndon Baines Johnson was the one that was the architect of the war on poverty and commissioned the Kerner Commission, Mr. Johnson became so obsessed with winning the war in Vietnam, he took money away from dealing with the problems of America, sending that money into Vietnam in a cause that America lost. And when Dr. Martin Luther King spoke openly, honestly, against the war in Vietnam, you know the rest. The man was assassinated. And now America, 20 years after Dr. King, is further apart. Even though there's a bigger middle class, the poor are getting poorer, and the system that you call economic, political, and religious system keeps pressing the poor down to the point where you have millions of black people who are useless to themselves and to this nation.
I would just like to say, Minister Farrakhan, that all that you have done for the black community and as well as educating the white, that in the white community there is hundreds and thousands of Farrakhans. I mean, your mentality, how you think, the uplifting of your people. But in the black community, there's a few Farrakhans. It's not enough of us that is helping to take up the burden of our people. It is our responsibility. It's not white folks' responsibility to deal with the illness of our people. Those who feel that they want to help us, fine, well as it can be, God will bless them. But it's our responsibility. And it's not enough of us who are helping to uplift our people. We are catching hell. Certainly if you are a people that is always begging, you're not going out to help brothers like Farrakhan and brothers that's following. Look at the Muslims. Look how clean they look. Look at how upright they look. They're not eating bad food. They're not drinking. They're not running after women or running after men, as Minister Farrakhan has said. So we should be men enough and women enough to do, because you're only on this planet for a short while, white and black. So we should pull our resources together and think intelligently enough to say that whatever affect one, affect all of us indirectly. Because when you have AIDS, AIDS don't have no privilege of, well, we're just going to deal with black folks. AIDS deal with everybody, Indians, Chinese, Italian, everybody. So you should think about what this black man is saying. Let me have it. Thank you.
Okay, I'd just like to say I think you should be thanking God that you live in this country instead of wanting to take your people and moving to another country with all the opportunities that you have here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think we've missed the point here. We've talked about racism. There is no racism in this heart. What we have missed the point on is your children and our children are in jail and are on drugs because of drugs. We need to talk about how to get our children off of drugs.
Unite against the common enemy.
Absolutely. We need to unite. When we get our children off of drugs, I think our children will be talking together, and your 600,000 young men will not be in jail any longer.
Yeah, well, of course, the Muslims went into a section of Washington that actually had become an open-air drug market. And by the grace of God, these young men took over that section, which housed 9,000 human beings. And within a month, there were no drugs sold in that area, and the Muslims have held that area for 2 years, relatively drug-free and crime-free, with no help from the government and very little help from others. We've done it with a word. If you could just calm the emotion, the fears, and listen to a word that can uplift not only black, but it can uplift your people as well, maybe we could solve the drug problem in the United States.
Sir.
I'd just like to point out to the lady who had said about blacks returning to black. I'm one of those people who went to a white Catholic Jesuit college. And I had that fear when I went away also of coming back to New York City. I saw the media, I saw blacks killing, I saw blacks doing all kind of stuff that just wasn't pleasing to my eye. But when I got back here, when I went back into Harlem, I saw the reason for some of that. I saw how the media took certain things out of context. A lot of whites are talking about fear. The fear is not black itself, it's not black people, it's the fear that you see. There's nothing to fear at all. A lot of people are not going to Harlem, they're not going to the ghettos because they fear I don't know what. But the blacks are some of the most passive people you will come across. We have tolerated a lot, and we continue to. There's nothing to fear but fear itself.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I would just like to ask Minister Farrakhan if he could comment on the vast gulf in the understanding and the perception between blacks and whites. And what do you think is the next step to advance this dialogue that seems to have started?
The gulf is created by improper education, environment, and the stimulus that comes from improper education environment. If you just look at the Constitution of the United States as a legal document that called us 3/5 of a human after we were robbed of the knowledge of self, then you look at a religion, Christianity. I'm not saying the teachings of Jesus now, but I'm talking about the way Christianity has been used. I was talking to a Catholic priest a few weeks ago, telling him how black folk were taught that our blackness is something of a divine curse, that we are the children of Ham. And Ham was one of the sons of Noah who mocked Noah in his drunkenness, and Noah cursed him. Black folk think of themselves in a servitude posture. Black folk think of the color of their skin as a curse. They think of the texture of their hair as something terrible, the thickness of our lips or the shape of our noses. This is not because we desire to think this way, but we live in America where white standards of beauty have been imposed upon us. Now how do you break this? By telling the truth. The truth is, black people have a beauty that is ours. It is uniquely ours. You have your beauty as white people. As you learn to appreciate yourself and we learn to appreciate ourselves, then maybe we can appreciate one another. But truth has to be told. The truth is, according to your own scholars, your own scientists, Mendel said, black skin is dominant, white skin is recessive. Dark eyes are dominant, light eyes are recessive. Mendel said you can get the recessive from the dominant, but you can't get the dominant from the recessive. That's Mendel. Dr. Leakey was looking for the origin of human beings. He went to Europe, but he didn't stay there long. He kept right on moving, and he found the origin of man in Africa. Now some of your scholars of genetics have taken the DNA and have traced the origin of human beings back to the black woman. Look, we are the father of all human beings. Tell it from the mountain, the black people are the original people of the earth. That doesn't make us better, but it says we are your father. We are your mother, and you should honor your father and mother that your days may be long.
And we'll be back in just a moment. We're back with the Reverend Minister Louis Farrakhan, who sounded awful close to William Shockley on the last answer.
But William Shockley was telling a falsehood while we are telling a manifest truth. And this truth, white people know. You scholars know it, but you've hidden it from black people and hidden it from your own people. So if you know that you come from us, then maybe you would respect your root a little better.
Yeah.
And if we knew that you came from us, maybe we would respect ourselves a lot better. So it works for both of us. It's good to know the truth. The truth will make you free.
Is it your feeling that AIDS is a manufactured disease which has hit especially in an especially horrendous way among people of color, among African Americans, engineered by a white person?
It is becoming increasingly clear in medical circles that the configuration of that virus is not a natural configuration, but that it is a made virus. Now, this should not come as a shock to you, because viruses have been used for years to get rid of unwanted and useless populations. I think General Amherst sent smallpox up in blankets to the Indians. And I think you will find that 100 black men in a Tuskegee experiment were injected with the most virulent form of syphilis and allowed to cohabit with whomsoever they would and never were to be treated for syphilis. This is reality. Now, it was 400. Now we're looking at not only biological warfare, but we're looking at chemical warfare that is being used in crack cocaine and now in ice, being used on black and white. And I'm telling you, if America doesn't wake up, your country will be lost from within.
You believe?
I believe it.
You believe this is true?
I do believe it, because if you remember...
How many white folks are going to sit still, though, for this kind of an indictment without proof, Mike?
Can I finish this? Do you remember in The Godfather, and everybody that saw The Godfather will remember this, he said, only give the drugs to the black because they do not have any hope. Isn't it true? How many can deny it?
Well, and therefore what? Therefore it's true?
No, that is true. Yes, I do.
All right.
So that was the part 2 of Honorable Louis Farrakhan video, which I promised to bring it to you. And I've learned a lot from this video. The one I posted, I think 3 days ago, and this particular one has really enlightened me when it comes to the segregation and how people feel about each other. How white feels about blacks and how blacks also feel about whites. One thing I've realized since I have been on this planet is this segregation and racism and all this black and white affair. And even not only that, when you come to Africa, we also face tribalism. We have, they have titled as tribes, which some also describe it as ethnicity. So these tribes and all these ethnicities, the differences which we are always arguing about it, some feel they are minority and they are being disrespected. And some also feel very superior than others. So when you go to the Western countries, they are rather complaining of racism. But when you come to Africa, we also complain about tribalism. So what I have realized is it's not going to go away anytime soon, because as humans, we have been able to build some self-pride and arrogance in us. So everybody is fighting to be at the top. Everybody is fighting to be the smart one. Everybody is fighting to be the superior one. So there is no way we are going to, this segregation and discrimination is going away soon. So we have to learn to come together. But one thing I want a race or ethnicity to learn is when you are being discriminating against, what you should know is use that dark side of life and use it to build yourself. You get it? You have to use being discriminated against, being racist against, and use that dark side of life to build yourself. And that is what I wish black people should have done. Yes, because of colonialism and slavery, we have lagged behind, because they didn't just enslave us, they also brainwashed us. They decided to make sure we don't remember anything about our history. They made sure our educational system is being controlled by them. They make sure they have imposed their religion on us, so we can follow only thing that they believe in, and it has made us feel inferior to ourselves. You go to churches in Africa, and the only thing you normally learn is the white Jesus, and you can only see pictures of the white Jesus. And with that too, you are only taught of things that were invented or were implemented by a white man. So sometimes you read about histories, you read National Geographies, you come up against a whole lot of things and you realize black people has been deleted from history. And that makes you feel inferior to yourselves. So that one too has a big toe or a bigger toe on blacks. Yes, it is a way of brainwashing majority of black folks. So it is now that we are trying to liberate ourselves, for us to understand ourselves, for us to know where we are coming from and where we are going. So things has become not that smoothly. It has become rough for many Africans. Many Africans feels their talent hasn't been appreciated. Many Africans feels, or blacks feels, they have been lagged behind. So it is making things rough for majority of black folks. But with what we are doing now, I hope majority of black folks, especially Africans and Africans in diaspora, we are going to be able to learn a lot. We are going to be enlightened and we are going to be liberated to understand the situation we find ourselves, so that the new generation that are coming can take the mantle and hold it and say, our forefathers or our ancestors made a mistake, but we are going to make changes. We are going to bring change, and change is the only way forward. And one of the biggest change that can happen in the African community is unity. If we are going to be united, Africans and Africans in diaspora will go far. You can join me on Telegram by going to my description box. Click on the Telegram link. It will take you to my platform on Telegram. Join us for us to talk or for us to discuss about the well-being of Africa. If today is your first time joining this channel, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification button so that anytime I upload any great content, you will be notified. I'm always your guy, De-Graft Amoako. Thanks for watching.